YouTube! The Carlton amp is back, and the reason it was banished to next door was the two most important knobs, the clean volume and the master volume, both crackled and cut out. So still crackles a bit, but it doesn't cut out anymore. Yay! So it's back. Basically, I just took it to bits, and then but I actually took it to bits and properly get at the pots, I just totally flooded them with switch cleaner, and then they work. Rocking. Yeah, weird amps. I suppose again a bit of an appeal for information. Anyone knows anybody's inside the pots that I was looking at were made in Britain, and some of them had 90 on them, some of them had 91. I think that's the year. Something round about 91, 92, something round about there for these amps. Made in Scotland, just kind of in my amp purge, which I'm actually not doing that badly at. Ended up acquiring some amps that I didn't really need, and then I ended up with lots of them. So this one, it was kind of always going to stay because it's made of solid wood. I mean, it's got its own gravity system. It's that heavy, and I really the sparkly clean sound is just amazing. Which is just a clean I can't get out of the valve amps. I'm going to work a bit on trying to get the distortion thing in, because you know, with the rat pedal, it doesn't work as well. It doesn't do the same thing with that amp as it does with the tube amp. It's a bit harsh. So I'm going to have a wee bit of a pedal board reimagining, and I think this might do the job. A Boss OS 2, which I believe is a OD1 and an SD1, but it's got like a colour knob, OD or a DS1, so you can it can be either, or you can sort of mix between the two. So I think that might maybe set it up specifically to get a good gain sound out of that amp. I even tried taking it in the studio one time, and it's horrendously powerful. It's 100 watt, I think, or it's 120 watt speaker. I think the amp itself is 100. I'm sure it says model 100 something somewhere on it. But the thing is, see, when you've got it up at drum kit volume, it sounds exactly the same as it does when it's quiet. So it's like, I think this will sound like this up till your ears are bleeding. Just super clean and awesome. And the other amps I've seen in this, the other Carlton amps, I mean, if you look, I'm actually looking them up on Google. There's only a couple that show up, and neither are this exact model. Apparently it was a £250 upcharge to get the wooden cabinet. It's made of solid ash, I think, because it looks almost exactly the same as the ash that I made that out of. And I think the basketweave front was an extra as well. The front panel seems to be the same across the few amps, the 3 or 4 amps I can find online, but it's exactly the same panel and exactly the same number of knobs, and it's got these 4 switches, but they do different things on different amps. This one has reverb on both channels, but there's 2 knobs on the back for reverb, whereas one of the other ones I saw there had like reverb as the last knob. So this is the high gain series 2 with 4 push buttons, which I actually, can you see it there? I made a foot switch, so I can actually turn on, you know, all these lights. That's actually quite a lot of gain boost. I haven't yet worked out exactly how to do that. So there's the clean. But try to use, I mean, it's got like a really strange setup of knobs. It's got like master gain, then preamp 2 driving gain, and then lead channel volume and presence, with the buttons to turn on the lead channel, to turn on the presence, to turn on preamp 2, and to turn on a gain boost. Must be trying to get a sort of dirty-ish. It kind of loses the presence. It's still quite. one just seems to make it louder though. And then the gain boost. All of And to Mr. White, who just did a video earlier on today, just look it out. If I remember, I'll link it down below. With his Ibanez RG140, he's gone and replaced the pickups. These pickups are brilliant. Like these single coils are totally. They're so low output and jangly. You're gonna love them. Oh, I'll turn them on first. That's a good Strat sound. Yeah, so I'm going to have a bit of a pedal board rearrangement. I'm going to get rid of the rat pedal just because I've grown too accustomed to it again. I just keep stomping the rat pedal. So I'm going to try and use this amp a little bit more. Out of the ones I'm going to have to sell, so I managed to get rid of the wee PV 5-watt one, and I got rid of the Blackstar HT5. So now I'm still stuck with this, which I'm probably going to keep. The Sovtech, which I have to keep because it's the Sovtech. The orange is lovely. I've been using that for the last 6 months. 30 watt, but it's switchable down to 7.5 on the front. And it's really nice. The PV that was sitting where the Carlton is up until yesterday is really nice. It's a 50 watt Valve King. I think I've got to sell that, or I might sell that and the orange, or the orange. I don't know, because the thing is, I've still got my wee Laney, which I really like as well. It's like a 15 watt one. It's really small and portable for being a tube amp, but on the other side it's got it's only got a 10-inch speaker in it, so I kind of really need to run it through a cab, which I've got sitting there. I've got a 3x12 cab there that I could use easy. It makes a huge difference on the wee Laney because it's only a 10-inch speaker, whereas it makes less difference on the Laney or the big PV or the orange. Is kind of, they're a 12-inch speaker anyway. It sounds better having 3 speakers, but not hugely different. So if anyone's after a proper gigging amp, I don't know, see, I was kind of getting used to it. I really liked the PV that was sitting there. It was a more grown up amp, it had more knobs on it than what the orange does. The orange has only got a few knobs, but I don't know. It's decisions. But I'm glad to get this back. As soon as I turned it in and plugged it in, it's like there. I forgot just how clean it's able to do. It's just amazing. The reverb on it's fantastic as well. It's got like an Accutronics thing on the back. So I need to do something. If anyone's got any Carlton amps, I might be interested in it. There's one which I've just found there on Google, Pro Series PS100, which kind of looks very much the same. It's got the original foot switch, which I'd never seen before, but the one I made does the same thing. It's just a MIDI. I made it a MIDI lead, and it's got the knobs are different. It doesn't have the basketweave of the wood, but what I heard about this company was the late 80s. There was a guy in, I think it was the Clyde Bank, maybe at some point or something like that, and he made amps using funny things, like using electronics parts rather than using proper amp bits. So inside it's got a lot of chips. It's kind of funny. It doesn't look like a normal amp. And everyone pure loved them. And then he started his own company and made, I think that's basically what that amp is, kind of thing, with these mad chipsets in it, wherever they are. I don't know, they FET chips or whatever. And then I think the problem was because we were making handmade amps in Scotland, it's like, well, these are solid state, mate. It's like people aren't going to buy solid state, they want valve amps, so they made an amp called a Camel, which I think they used exactly the same control panel and the same box for, but it was valves, but apparently they weren't good. Apparently that's the one, the ability to get a sort of that sound out of solid state wasn't a common thing in '91 or whenever it came out. But I do quite fancy one of the Camels just because it's interesting. They also did, which seems like a great idea. It must have, I don't know whether it didn't work or something went wrong, but they did a thing which was like a transistor vacuum tube. So you could get it, and basically it looked like, you know, your big, was it EL84 tubes you get in the back of these things? It looked like that with the pins and stuff on the bottom, but inside the glass thing was like a circuit board with chips on it. And it was meant to be, that was the idea where was, it's that you're not going to run your valves out anymore because you can now use your valve amp, but instead of putting actual valves in it, you put in these transistor things which didn't wear out and weren't susceptible to heat and all that stuff. And so I don't know how that never took off, or even a thought for an option. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it wasn't that. Maybe if you're sitting there running, what's the point in running my soft tech? The part of that is you're using it to use the valves and you're going to bypass them. I don't know. But if anyone knows anything about them, or if anyone has one, I'll give you 50 quid for it. Not that I need any more amps. I don't need any more amps. I just really like that one. It's got a weight to it. Fantastic studio amp. I think a lot of it might be to do with the speaker as well. See, I think because it's so heavy, it moves the floor or something, or it just seems so big and open. It's like a really expensive hi-fi. That's kind of what it sounds like. Like when you get, you know, the ones with the big Celestion wooden speakers and stuff like that, like an old proper late 70s, early 80s hi-fi with, you know, it's got £50 worth of wire connecting the speakers together, that sort of thing. I don't know what happened there. Did the sound go? Anyway, yeah, it sounds like a hi-fi. Looks like a hi-fi. I do want to try and get a decent distortion out of it. Maybe putting something into the loop pedal and then faffing about with it. I just feel I should use this bit with the 4 buttons and all these extra knobs. There's quite a lot of circuitry and chips and stuff in behind them, so there must be. They must. You know, the same amount of effort to build this bit as I did build the rest of the amp, so it must be worth it. Somewhere I just need to learn how to understand how to use just having like 4 gains and a presence. Bizarre. She's still not. I'm just not getting that. It needs more smoothness put in there somewhere. I just think that's what the boss pedal is. Rocking. So enough talking about this amp, which is now back from the dead. And if anyone wants to buy a PV 50 watt proper 1x12 gigging amp, which is amazing, and I don't want to sell, but there's no point in me having amps that I can't put in the video. So I kind of just want to have just the amps I've got there. I've already got my big Marshall still. I sacrificed my big Marshall so I can get an extra 2 guitars on the wall. Yeah, my wee lady's not there either. Oh no, too many amps. Too many amps. Rock on.